Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Sunshine and Star Show. I'm your son, Ray Johnson.
And I'm your star, Lauryn Green. Hello, awesome audience.
And as advertised on Instagram, we're going to talk about the workplace to see if our thoughts on careers, opportunities, and things like that for this modern era and obstacles we may have to deal with if we still hold the same thoughts as the first time we discussed this. Especially because a couple years have passed and some things have changed, so we're just kind of curious on where we stand now.
Yep, definitely a lot of changes have been made. I've noticed that too since I graduated, so it's changed my opinion personally on what I think I want to do, and even just for other people in my field too. How about you?
Yeah, I thought at first I'd be probably starting out more on film or TV, especially because that was the majority of my major. But now I'm thinking of paid podcasting or radio hosting, or maybe a radio host that can podcast interview as well. There's options. I just feel like that would be a really cool thing to start out with, and I also want to have some side gigs of voiceover work. I just think that'd be really cool. And over the past year and these few months so far into the new year, I've been submitting voice auditions and stuff, so hopefully one of them will stick and I'll be paid to be in a commercial or narration or video game character. I just think that'd be so cool as well. And potentially have an opportunity to be the social media marketer for Ohio Star Theater, where David's going to work again. Fingers crossed, officially hearing back from them this week. So the chances are high, things like that, but officially he's not going to go up to rehearsals in April quite yet. We still need to know for sure if he got the part. But yeah, any of those would be great. And I've been having some help from my friends, my mom's coworkers and her friends, Nick and Meredith, because they interview on behalf of the Better Business Bureau. So it's been good. I feel a lot more optimistic about my options of actually being able to obtain a job versus back then, in the sense of it felt more of an uphill battle, just kind of being thrusted into the reality of having to find something, but now doesn't feel quite as bad. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned being able to actually obtain a job, and if I can remember correctly, your major was pop culture and media production, right?
Yeah, and a couple last year or just before last year, they had merged two kind of similar ones, one that was more focused on the business and mine was more creatively focused, into one, so it's just media production now. But yeah, all focused on different forms, including photography. So, and I've still kept up with that. I mean, admittedly not as much these past few weeks, only because I'm still getting used to schooling schedule, but mostly it's just because the weather's been cold and you just don't want to be outside as much. If you can help it.
No, you don't.
You just want to speed walk from class to class and then go home, you know?
Yeah, even in that, it's so uncomfortable because I've had to do that here. And fun fact, we actually got snow a couple weeks ago. I know, that hasn't happened in Florida in 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, what? Say that again?
Yeah, yeah, we got, there was a snowstorm a couple of weeks ago, and my mom was saying, the last time Florida ever got snow, I think she was in law school at the time. It was back in the 70s, maybe. But I was so disappointed because I checked my weather app at I think 3 in the morning, and it said that it was snowing because I'm in Gainesville here at UF. So I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously, I need to go outside. And I looked out the window though, and I didn't see any snow. And I thought, okay, maybe tomorrow we'll get some. We did not. But I'll tell you who did get some. FSU in Tallahassee. From what I saw on social media, for people I know who go there, you would have thought that they were up north somewhere. I was like, I'm so jealous. How come they got all the stuff? We got nothing.
I don't know. I guess they were just greedy with it.
Yeah, really. They better share some of that.
We actually are projected to get some Wednesday.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah.
I know some people say that they're tired of the snow, but I grew up in Florida my whole life, so whenever I see snow, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
I have like a love-hate relationship in the sense that I love initially like snow, where I'm thinking, yay, you know, because it's also kind of rare for North Carolina too, especially in the Piedmont area where I am, for Raleigh and stuff. But even as far west as High Point is in the state, I had to make sure in my mind, like, okay, I'm saying the right direction. That even though High Point is close to the mountains, it's still kind of just as rare in some ways. But yeah, it's hilarious when initially being told about it over the weekend into the beginning of the week yesterday. My history professor said, yeah, it probably won't do anything. Meanwhile, my music teacher is like, yeah, you know, we'll reschedule just in case. And obviously he said that kind of stuff too. But it was just funny how he's just such a skeptic about, yeah, it probably won't, but... Because, I mean, I do get it to an extent that we do freak out over any chance, and 2 inches, we're just like, okay, school is closed, public school's done, but... yeah, it's just really funny. But if it does snow tomorrow, I'm okay with it, because ballroom has been moved to Friday, so now I just really don't care. But, yeah, it would be kind of cute to have a snowball fight and stuff with David.
Oh, yeah, you get him pretty good, huh?
He is a bigger target after all, being as tall as he is.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
You could probably build a snowman, that's his height.
Well, it depends on how much snowfall we have, but yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's kind of going to be a busy week for me, and I'm okay with that, because I feel like even though I've been a little bit tired and had to take naps sometimes, that overall my energy is much better, so I can take on a bit more. But I'm also making sure I don't do it to the point of burnout, because that was one of the symptoms of realizing something was wrong last time around. So I'm like, nope, okay, let's not over obligate like I tend to do, because I'm so ambitious and stuff. Nope, let's not. And that's also something I think is a very interesting and boundary that's been talked about lately, especially across social media, of a trend coming about of advocating for boundaries in the workplace. I feel like you've probably noticed this too, Lauryn, where there'll be people in YouTube shorts talking about how, hey, this is what you can say when you're off the clock and your boss is demanding you to send out something, or when they don't really want to acknowledge that you have PTO or you're sick or whatever, and they still want you to do something, because we're in such a work mentality here in America, where even Europeans and people all over the world just look at us and they're thinking, what in the world? And it's just kind of insane sometimes how much pressure we put on ourselves to constantly churn out stuff. And it affects health, you know, mentally and physically. And so I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that, of making sure that as much as you want to show you're a reliable, hardworking, efficient person, to also not have your boss or manager take advantage of you to your own detriment.
Well, that's a good question, and it's a very valid point too. I think you can do both, but there needs to be a balance between the two, because I know that, especially recently, many employees are frustrated with their bosses because they've noticed that whenever their children are sick, they have to stay home with them, and their bosses don't like that, because they're like, we're paying you to do a job, you know, your kids are not part of the deal, we're not paying them, you're the employee here. And on the one hand, I'm someone who's very moderate, so I can see both sides. But in this case, I think that when parents need to stay home with their children, I think that's a legitimate reason for it, because they're not leaving work to go on vacation. Let's just say to Hawaii, and They say being a parent is the toughest job and the most important job in the world, which I agree to an extent. So I think there needs to be a balance there, and employees should be able to set boundaries and speak up about that. I also think employers should understand too that if their employees have proven themselves to be dedicated workers, they're very punctual, and they always invest their very best time and energy and work ethic into everything that's required of them, and they even exceed those expectations too, then to me that's enough to know that, okay, I can trust this person. They've proven themselves to be reliable. They've proven themselves to be professional. Something came up in their personal life that they need to take care of. So I can respect that. And I think there should also be a specific number of days where you can take time off for reasons like that, such as your kids are sick, or you might have another family emergency, or something that's going on in your personal life, death in the family, anything.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and it also made me think of the points of how you said you think of both sides. I'm very much oriented to that way too, especially with how I was raised and getting into things like mock trial and stuff like that in high school. So I also see the point of view from the employer's perspective of how the managers and bosses, they have pressure from even higher ups than them to reach bottom lines and stuff, so then they freak out, especially when the better workers have something come up, like you said, an emergency or a sickness in the family, or even themselves sick. So it's just kind of a sticky situation, because on one hand, you should be understanding as the employer, and on the other hand, you also have the obligation to make sure quotas are met, and so you have to just approach it in a way where, as best as humanly possible, that it's a truly friendly, good work environment where maybe, hey, I know this is kind of annoying, but since blah 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 is sick, can y'all divide up the labor of work amongst yourselves for just a little bit until they're better, and to present it in a way where they're not too put out, because I've noticed a lot, especially with the jobs my mom has had, until she finally found the Better Business Bureau that treats her right and stuff. One of the problems that she would run into is that if she had to take a day off, or, which was very rare for her, probably even to this day with the benefits she has and stuff, she probably won't take much off, but she would notice a lot of people that didn't work nearly as hard and effectively as her take huge time off, 2-hour lunch breaks, all this kind of stuff. There was even one guy that took a whole month off and was lying about the extent of what he was doing to settle an estate on his parents' or his mom's behalf. So it's just things like that that kind of makes your blood boil a little bit, and you're thinking, look, I'm not doing these lax things, they're not getting in trouble, but if something were to happen to me for even just a couple of days, they'd raise Cain and get more upset at me than the people that deserve to be reprimanded, So it's just things like that at first when hearing about these things, I'm like, man, I really hope I find a good environment and not just people that say that they're quote-unquote a family business and then treat you terribly, but are actually people you want to work with and get along with and stuff like that. Because, man, I jokingly would say to my mom, hey, I'll go beat them up for you because this is ridiculous. I'll go tell them off myself because they can't fire me.
That's right, they can't.
But, yeah, it was just funny. And my dad would still deal with some crazy people and incompetency himself, but Mom would go into more detail and tell me and things like that. So, yeah, it was just, I'm glad they're both at much better jobs. But it was just, man, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Who do I need to knock some sense into?
Yeah, am I going to take these earrings off or something?
Yeah.
No.
Take my rings off, take my earrings, let's go.
Yeah, I'm about to go old school on somebody's behind.
Yeah. I actually saw this quote, and obviously don't advocate for this at the workplace or any place, if at all possible, but it was really funny. Someone said that, I don't advocate for violence, but sometimes some people just really need to be punched in the face. I'm like,
Yeah. You work hard and you earn certain things. So if you worked hard and you worked hard to earn that punch, then hey, you get what you ask for. Ask and ye shall receive.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it was in the context of Reddit wedding stories, but still, I just thought it was really funny. It's like, the stereotypical mother-in-law in the situation where they're being mean to the bride, and it was just so funny how she said, yep, some people just need to be punched, and then they finally will get it.
That's true. And by the way, listeners, we're not advocating for you to go punch somebody. We don't want to have to bill you out of jail.
No.
If that happens, we're not liable. We're not liable for that. Call your mom, call a lawyer, call someone else. Don't call us.
Yeah, no. This is all jokes and funs and giggles. Like, even the person saying this said I don't advocate for this. But yeah.
No attacking people.
No. But it does come to the point that sometimes people can just be so stubborn and set in their ways, they need something to wake them up, to jostle them, to realize that they need a change. So, unfortunately, you can't really do that with a boss or a manager.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting dynamic to approach of how, as the employer, when you know you don't have nearly as much power as the person who hired you, do you reasonably advocate for yourself of making sure you're not being taken advantage of, especially when you, like you said earlier, Lauren, exceeding their expectations. And it really just depends on place to place, I guess, of where you work, of how receptive they'll be to what you want to say and how to better the situation. But, I mean, yeah, just don't really know till it happens, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why it's also important to research the culture of the company before you apply there, and even after you apply, and when you're waiting to hear back from them of whether you got the job or not, I'd say set up meetings to go in and just observe the overall atmosphere. What are the interactions and the dialogue like between employers or employees and the employers, and just between the coworkers themselves, and ask questions. And I would even raise those questions with the employer. What if my parent or my child is sick? What if I have a family emergency? What if I have to travel for whatever the reason might be? And I think if you find that they're understanding of that, as long as you don't abuse those privileges, then you should be okay. But on the other hand, I get what you were saying too, because I understand it from the perspective of the managers as well. Irrespective of what's going on in your personal life, you still have deadlines, and that's not going to stop just because something came up in your own life. Like that, you can't use that as an excuse to drag down the team. So like I said, there has to be a balance, and if you have to go home for whatever reason, maybe see if you can do some work from home while you're there, in addition to taking care of your child or whomever, whatever the situation might be. And if there's someone who can fill in for you, that's always an alternative as well.
What you were saying about shadowing and seeing how the environment is before you really truly settle into a company, I think it's also smart to just randomly pop up on days so they don't prepare for you to be there and try to act a certain way, kind of thing, and kind of present their best self. They may still do a bit of that once you're there, but to just kind of randomly show up as if you're an inspector or something, where they don't really know when you're coming. Just also to make sure that as much as humanly possible, any facade they may put up won't be nearly as much. Because I feel like if you say, I'm going to come in at Wednesday, they're like, okay, let's prepare. Let's, make sure we're regulated with our environment and stuff, and all this stuff. But, yeah, I think that's definitely a thing to do, of making sure they don't really expect it after the whole interview process and stuff, and you're more likely to be hired, of just randomly going by. See what truly is what's up.
Yeah, I think so. And I think something else I realized when I was researching is that, especially nowadays, a lot of people in our generation, they've had to really pivot. They're not exactly pursuing jobs that they wanted to when they were in college because of the economy, first of all. And it's even harder now to find jobs than it was, let's say, 8 or 10 years ago. Yeah. So I was wondering if we could talk about that real quick and like what we majored in and whether we have a different outlook on that now, whether we've developed new interest or how we think that the overall job market and economy will affect us going forward.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast, I outline my aspirations for radio and stuff, but probably the biggest roadblock right now is that, ironically enough, despite how virtual that can be, and even with the radio, there's the option of internet and broadband, which I've been learning in my music business class. It's hard to find a place where it's not in person, because I've been wanting to do remote and search for that, so then I can transfer to in person later. Obviously, with the hope in mind of transferring to Ohio in person with David's theater job and things like that. But that's been kind of hard lately, especially because, I just want to, as soon as possible, be able to put money in savings for the both of us as soon as possible before we have to worry about moving up there and things like that. Granted, he'll be up there a month before me, but still, I'm just the on top of it kind of person like you are, where I just want to do it as soon as possible. And I am going to try to ask around some more with the advice that Meredith and Nick have given me about seeing if in-person companies would be willing to have me be remote at first, but for now that's kind of a roadblock I've been dealing with. But I just have found that kind of funny for what I want to do, considering how COVID's made things a lot more virtual, but now it's harder to get virtual when you want it, so that's kind of weird for me. But we'll just see how these things pan out, and maybe by next episode I'll have a different answer. But yeah, so since you brought it up, what are your thoughts on how aligned your aspirations are from the first time versus now with jobs?
I will say they have changed a little bit because I've always been passionate about the performing arts and I have very broad aspirations, so I'm trying to narrow them down. It's just difficult. I really want to become a talk show host one day. I want to also write, and I also want to act too, because I've always been passionate about the performing arts. So it's funny because thanks. It's funny because in high school I thought in college I'd major in theater, but after attending a summer intensive performing arts camp, the summer or program, if you will, the summer going into my senior year of high school, we learned about how hard it is to get jobs in the entertainment business, which it is, because especially as an actor too, you'll hear probably a trillion no's before you get that big break finally, that yes. So you have to have something in between to support yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so with my other aspirations, I decided to study journalism in college. So my bachelor's is in journalism, and I thought that would be very beneficial for wanting to become a talk show host or even a news or entertainment anchor. So, and I also like to write. But what I noticed when I graduated was that it was so freaking hard to find jobs. Like, I didn't find a job until 9 months after I graduated, and it was a part-time job with a magazine I used to write for. So I was very glad that I got that. I loved it, and I love editorial writing. So I did that for a few months until I started graduate school. Because initially, when I was in college, I thought once I graduated, I'd work for about a year or two to get a better idea of what I wanted to study in grad school. But since I couldn't find the right job, I thought, you know what? I know what I like, and I'm open to other fields, so it's best to just go on and get my master's right now. So that's why I'm here at University of Florida. I'm studying professional communication, and my specialization is in public relations. And I would just say that now I still want to do journalism and entertainment, but by virtue of all the experiences and internships I've had, if I don't go that route, then my alternative options would be either public relations, advertising, or even convention sales, because a few summers ago I did an internship for a company in Tampa, Visit Tampa Bay, and I worked in their marketing and convention sales department, and I loved it. I even made a sale over the phone to a man who lived in London, so I was happy about that.
Ooh, yay!
So yeah, it was great. So, and these are fields that I never thought I would have explored had I not interned there. So, I would say like be open to other possibilities, other industries. Don't feel like you have to limit yourself, and understand it's okay to develop new passions and new interests because you might like it better than what you initially thought you want to do. And when you're getting your master's degree, or when you're in general, when you're deciding what you want to study in college, it's sometimes hard because you have all these interests and you don't know how to narrow it down, or you might have pressure from other people who are telling you, oh no, you should study this, you'll make more money this way, you'll have more opportunities this way. And you can appreciate their advice, but ultimately you have to follow your own calling. You have to follow your own heart, because my brother does medical sales, and he convinced me to apply to a position for a company that he used to work for, which I did last year, and I made it for an interview, but I didn't get the final position, but it's okay. And I had told him that I wanted to study what I'm studying now in grad school, and he's also getting his MBA, but he's getting his MBA, well, he has his master's in business, so he tried to persuade me to get a master's in business. The only thing is, that's not really where my passion is, and I'm also not very good in math. I'm a liberal arts student. Like, I'm stronger in English, social studies, liberal arts subjects. I could have done it, though, don't get me wrong.
Oh, girl, same. The only math I like is addition and multiplication into my bank account. You know what I mean? Like,
That part. Yes, what she just said.
That's the only business I'm interested in.
Yes, and I don't like division because I don't like dividing it and having to share it with other people. What I make is my own.
I also totally agree with what you're saying about passions. And I, out of all people, know that. I've had so many different things I've done throughout my life. It would probably take a whole podcast episode just to talk about what I've done and the various things. Even the person that helped me get admitted from the homeschooling sector of students into High Point when I was a freshman in 2019 said, "You're my little Renaissance lady. You've just done so much. You've done it all." I'm like, yeah, probably. And I feel so privileged to even have done all the things that I have and will continue to do, and it's just crazy. And I just want to make sure with interviewing, however I'm able to go about doing that and when, to give other people a voice so that they feel that what their life experience is matters as much, because especially with being an overall soft-spoken person, I know that might sound crazy for those that are listening, that's even a thing for me, but trust me, every time I pick up my order for food, I say Rae, they look at me like, huh? I'm like, Rae, and they're like, oh, okay, and then they, it's just every time, I just want everyone to feel that no matter the volume of your voice or the frequency, or even if you think what you say isn't important, it probably is for someone else, and to give that person a voice. That's why I go by Rachel the Voice, your voice is heard kind of thing, and I've created logos and stuff, and I'm probably going to have that be a main thing for my brand and mainstay for years to come, because I think everyone's voice matters, and I know Lauren's the same way, and she would definitely incorporate that with her future talk show, wherever her path leads her to, and the timing of that, and all these various interests that she's into, which she would excel at any one of them, honestly, knowing her. So, yeah, I just think that trying different things and skills can actually surprise you with how beneficial they could be to what you think you already want to do. I mean, with sailing, I didn't think that would help me with interviewing, but it got me to be in an environment of learning about a lot of different people and really cool places they go to and experiences they have, and how I'd want to capture that and have other people see how crazy and wonderful their life is. So you just really never know. And I'm just so grateful for everything that I've learned and will continue to. And I hope for the both of us we will find jobs and places that have that mindset as well of wanting to grow and expand and continue to learn new things to benefit the company and employees and stuff like that. Because that's the kind of work environment I'd want to be in. That wouldn't want to be stagnant and assume that they already know everything because it's been established for 20 years. And, So, and what you're saying about singing, I may potentially be in Christmas Carol for the Ohio Theater because the timing when I graduate, I probably wouldn't be doing Road to Damascus. But I'd probably still mark it for them and stuff. But yeah, I potentially could audition for Christmas Carol. And that would be a really cute and fun thing to do for mid-November to December. So who knows? But yeah, I'm just thankful and grateful and a lot of full.
That's it, yeah. And one last piece I would share is when I was comparing the communications field and the business world, of course they're both very different. And by the way, for anyone who's listening, if you want to go into business, whether it be sales, marketing, or anything, God bless you. I'd say go for it. And because my brother likes that, and he told me himself that you make a lot of money in sales, which is true. So it's an interesting field. I think it really is.
Yeah. Both my parents are in sales, so I know that how much you can potentially make.
Yeah, you can make a lot, like 6 figures within your first year. So I'd say go for it. But if you're more interested in the communications field like we are, that's valuable too. Because starting out, it's true you might not make as much as someone would in the business world, but that's okay. You could still find a good job, and as long as you enjoy what you're doing and you're making an impact, then it's worth it. And once you work your way up, the money will come. So whatever your interests are, just go for it. And that's something I had to learn too. Medical sales is my brother's passion, and I have no problems trying it out, starting out. If I needed to, I think I'd be good at it. And I just think that for me right now, choosing the master's program I chose was the best option for me. And you have to choose what's best for you. You can listen to advice from other people, because my other brother told me that where you start doesn't have to be where you finish. And he's right. So always remember that when you're starting out in your career or when you just graduate from college, and expand your options. Don't feel like you have to limit yourself. Just as my mom told me, go for broke. The worst people can tell you is no.
I mean, your brother and your mom, bars.
Yes.
And I'm grateful that both of our parents love the aspirations that we have for ourselves and things like that, and we haven't really had to deal with the struggle of, I want to do this, and then not have support with it. So I'm very grateful for that. And, my parents did used to have a TV show called On Point in the 90s. So that at first is what I thought I'd wanted to do, of what you'd said earlier, Lauren, about being a TV host. I thought that, but I feel like it would just be so sick to start out on radio with podcasting and things, and then maybe later transition into that. Because I feel that radio is just a lot more powerful than it's made out to be, and I just want my voice and other voices to be through the waves of the radio. And
exactly.
Then eventually the TV screen and whatnot. But yeah, I just, especially when I volunteered at the classical station in Raleigh and emceed a few times, and I used a different moniker because I know how weird people can be sometimes, so I had a different name. But yeah, it was just so much fun, even though I felt like I tried my best pronouncing some of those classical names. I mean, Beethoven and Bach and stuff like that's easy, but there was some that you felt had random letter generators in them, like some medical commercial names, and you're just thinking, okay, I'm trying so hard and hope this is right. But yeah, so that was just so much fun, and just the feeling of it being live and knowing you're saying something that people are paying attention to, it's just pretty awesome. And I like classical music, I always have, but obviously in the mornings I just tend to listen to my pop playlist or whatnot, and jazz and stuff. But I mean, I just have appreciation for most music, honestly. if you see my Spotify, you would wonder how one person has all these likes and genres. But, I just really valued that experience and just made me that much more want to be a host with that. If that didn't work out for the immediate future, I'm not going to be too offended or whatnot or beat myself up over it. Despite my perfectionist side of my brain probably wanting to do that, I'll just still continue to fight for things that would make sense for all the skills that I've accumulated over the years and that I would help other people with. And I'm just so happy that even though the job market is very hard and it's frustrating sometimes, that I am in a lot more optimistic mindset than I was before. Again, we'll see if it'll next recording if that's the case, but I'm hoping that mindset carries over as I continue to search for places and hope that I impact those around me, even if I'm interviewing or not, in a good way. So
that's true. And even when it looks like the obstacles are against you, or you might not get something you're like trying out for or you're exploring, one thing my dad has always said: when God is involved, the facts don't matter.
Oh, amen, girl. Hallelujah.
Right. So what's for you will be there for you. So I think you'll get it.
Aw. And I do have my retirement plan already, though. I want, like, my Higa in Texas, I want to have an animal sanctuary.
Oh, pretty. I love that.
Yeah. I don't know where it would be located, but I just want to have a nonprofit for animals one day because I just love animals so much. It'll be worth the Zyrtec, it'll be worth the allergy pills, but, you know, I just have such a huge love for animals. And maybe even next month, Dave and I are going to visit an aquarium, so that'll be a lot of fun. But, yeah, animals make me really happy, and
yeah.
I just thought it was so cute when I heard about how Betty White was really involved with animals and things like that, and endangered species and whatnot, before she passed away and stuff like that. And I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that when I'm older and when I'm more settled down and not traveling quite as much, because you have to really tend and keep to them. Even if you have a base of employees, they get used to and imprint on certain humans, especially with how, if they've been raised with that inclination before coming to you, like as a baby, if they grew up in that environment. So yeah, that's just something I'm really passionate about. I want to do later in life. So.
As you should. Animals are so sweet, and they make the world a better place. I love them so much too. Yeah. I think like nonprofit work for me, I would like to start an organization where I help families who are in poverty just overcome that. I want to give them access to better educational opportunities and career choices too, and expose them to different ways for them to elevate themselves.
Aww.
And invest my own money in trying to help them.
I love that. That makes so much sense for you. You're just a kind-hearted person. I love you so much.
I love you too. Same thing with you with the animals. You know, we need someone to care about them.
Yeah. I might even get like a skink or something when Dave and I are in Ohio, because I said, hey, would you care if we got like a lizard type pet? And he's like, I don't care. So it would just be so cute to have like a little tank for him and his little light and little decorations with leaves and stuff, and have a cute name, and then he gets out his blue tongue with
And how about another dog so Rummy will have a playmate?
Probably not. As sweet as that would be, he's getting older, and my parents love him and stuff, but they also know that when he passes away eventually, that they probably won't even want another pet, because he's just the best. You can't top Brummy.
That's true. He's your sweet little boy.
Yeah, he's a sweet old man.
Yeah, I keep calling him little because he's so small.
Yeah.
I forget
he's like 5 pounds, but he's 16. But sometimes he gets in these spurts where you don't think he's as old as he is, and he still has a healthy heart. So when I said eventually, I was thinking more in the future because he's still pretty good health. All he does is have a cough sometimes because there's a part of his trachea that's collapsed a bit, and that just happens with smaller dogs when they're older. But yeah, he's overall doing fine. So just want to put to bed any assumptions, but yeah. I like how we're talking about the workplace and then it just goes to animals and my dog.
I know. Yeah, I was going to guess he was either like 16 or 17, but yeah, so he's 16. Let's hope he lives to at least be 21 so he can take his first drink.
Honestly, yeah.
He should take his first shot.
Oh, goodness. But we hope that this was an insightful and good podcast to listen to, and you getting to know us more. And if there's anything you want to know more about, we'd love to hear your ideas for episodes. If there's something you want us to expand upon about our lives, or something that you find interesting about life and want us to voice our opinions on, let us know. And that could be either YouTube comments, which is how you're hearing this, or Instagram on our official Instagram page, Sunshine and Star Show. And we love you guys. You're amazing. And continue to shine bright.
That's right, and we'll see you on our next episode, so enjoy your week, and I hope you all had a happy Valentine's Day, too, full of love.
Aw, yes, surrounded by loved ones, no matter who they be. Yeah.
But just remember, we love you the most.
Aw, that's so cute, my gosh.
Alright, have a nice rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, see you for episode 6. Bye.
Bye.